Hi everyone, Chris Natzke here with Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching with your Mind of a Champion Tip of the Week live on Facebook. You know, back in May of 2014, I undertook an absolutely life-changing trip when I walked the Camino de Santiago. Now, for those of you that don't know anything about the Camino, or translated in English means the way, it's a 500-mile trek across northern Spain. I began my trail in western France, hiked up into the Pyrenees Mountains, and then descended into Spain, where I spent the next month walking about 17 to 18 miles per day. And the Camino's got an amazingly rich history. It actually started back in the early days of the church, where people were actually told to walk the Camino as a means of doing penance. I wasn't doing it for that matter, but I was really doing it for what most people do, or what we call peregrinos, the pilgrims, which is really just to get in touch with myself again, really to slow things down and contemplate what I wanted to create in my life. And one of the things that happens when you're on the Camino is you get these, I think, profound life lessons. And one of the things that came present for me is how much within the first 2 weeks of the Camino that I was treating it as nothing more than an athletic event to get through. I'd wake up early in the morning, get my pack, get on the trail before anyone else did, time myself to the next destination, and I realized that I was missing a lot along the way. So I made a distinct decision, a conscious choice to slow down. And one of the great things about slowing down in that walk is I transitioned from doing the Camino to being on the Camino. And as a result of that, I got to meet some amazingly incredible, interesting people. And one of those was a woman named Cecile from Toulouse, France. And this was almost when my Camino had completed. I was about 24 miles east of Santiago. And I was walking down the trail. And when you're on the trail, the way that you're guided is by the succession of yellow arrows. And I was walking straight ahead on the trail, thinking that's where I needed to go. And I heard someone call out from behind. And it was Cecile. And soon she walked up in front of me and she patiently pointed that I had missed the arrow and it was actually to the left, saving me probably hours on the trail from getting lost. Well, we walked for a bit and chit-chatted, and then of course, you know, my pace was a little bit faster than hers, even though I was still slowing down, and I excused myself and we parted ways. Well, about 2 or 3 hours later, I was sitting at a cafe, which was adjacent to the trail, something I would have never done in the past, and just watching the world go by, and all of a sudden I saw Cecile. And as soon as she saw me, her arm started waving vigorously, and she came over to me and asked if she could join me for lunch. And I, of course, obliged. So we were in conversation with each other, and as one might ask, she said, well, what do you do for a living? Among other things, I said, well, I'm a life coach. And as soon as I said that, her eyes lit up, and she said, oh my gosh, I am on my Camino right now because of my life coach. She said, I was so imbalanced at work that my boss said that if you don't get a life coach, if you don't see this life coach, you're going to be fired. She'd been so imbalanced at work, working hours, no social life. And she said she and her coach had come up with the idea of her walking the Camino. And then she looked at me and she said, you know, in the last 3 weeks, I've talked to more people on this trail than I have in the last 20 years. And then she paused and said something I'll never forget. She got quiet and then looked at me and she said, on this Friday morning, she said, you know, Tuesday was my mother's 82nd birthday. And I called her. And for the first time in my life, I told her I loved her. Well, we both just sat there in sacred silence. And pretty soon, tears began welling up in both of our eyes. And I realized what I had witnessed was a real profound healing in someone. Now, I have no idea what we spoke about during the rest of that lunch, but I do remember this. I remember after I excused myself to get back on the trail, what kept going through my mind is, how am I showing up in my relationships? Am I taking the time to really be with the people that are closest to me? Am I taking the time to tell the people that I love the most that I love them? And so that's my question and challenge for you this week. Where are you at in your relationships? I mean, and you don't need to walk 500 miles across Spain, although maybe you will, but you don't have to walk 500 miles across Spain to be able to have that connection with the people closest to you. It might be a walk down the hall to go into the bedroom of your son or daughter and connect with them. It might be walking across town to visit a friend. It might be walking down the hallway to pick up your phone and call your mom and or dad and tell them that you love them. So anyway, that's my message for you today, folks, is where can we slow down and take some time? Because this might be our own camino, our own way of really leaning into our lives and being closest to those that are close to us. So there you have it, my friends. That's my message for you today. I hope you really take this to heart. And if you have an experience with this that you'd like to share, please share this video or make comments on it. I always love hearing those. And hope that you can take this to heart and really make this a positive aspect of your day. So this has been Chris Natzke from Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching. And we'll see you next time on the Mind of a Champion Tip of the Week.